Good morning, August 29, 2020, and I'm in the garden trying to plant Egyptian onion, and that's the front yard here. So you can see we have the garlic, the Egyptian onion here on the box, and I like to call this my herb garden. So I like to have a lot of onion in this garden, but I don't think I have enough. So what I'm going to do is I harvest those from the backyard and I record that video, and now I'm at the front. I'm going to see where I have empty spot, and we are going to plant those bulbs. And let me show you. And this came from 1.5 by 4 feet area garden. So that's a lot of bulbs here. And this garden here is, I would say, 3 feet by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would say 3 feet, 2 feet by 8. 2 feet by 8 average. That's the size of the garden. I have sorrel, I have onion, and interestingly, over the winter I put a lot of, because I stock up on potato. When I peel potato, I'll come here and I'll just dump the potato peels here, and what happens in spring, I have potato growing. So I have few plants of potato, and that's one here. And yeah, so I'm letting them grow, and I have onions, and you can see them growing already. So what I like to do is, either the stem that is holding the bubbles is brown, that's my cue that is ready for me to harvest the bubbles. So I can even start harvesting the bubbles without even planting them. But as soon as I start seeing the bulb in the ground growing, I know that's the time for me to start planting those bubbles. So you can see that here, those are the new growth. And today, August 29, I have already over 1 full stall of green onions, easy to harvest. I'm a little bit behind planting them, so let's get started. I'm just going to see what I don't have onion, and I'll plant them. But you can see that I have some bubbles here already. I'll take that. I have some grass here. That's my 3A. That's just grass, but they're all in the grass family, hay and grass, or gray and lawn. So that I'll just mulch my garden with it. So this garden, that's how I like to weed. If you are calling it weeding, I'll just cut those grass down, you know, let them grow, cut them down to mulch. So that's my way of providing my own mulch here. So I don't mind the grass in it. I just let them grow a little bit, and once in a while I'll come and I'll just harvest them and mulch. So because it's right below my chicken window, it's easy for me to come here in the sundials that I use inside and harvest greens, herbs. I didn't have time there, time there for my cooking. So that's why I like to have this garden here. Even though right past the walkway, I have my front yard garden. That's the front side of the property. I like to have this because the shoes that I use, like this one that I use outside, I don't use the inside because I don't want to get dirt inside. It'll go straight in the basement. So to go there, I will use these shoes, but to come here, I just use those blocks that we purchased ourselves and just put down here. It's not the way, it's not what we wanted to use it for though, but that's one way I came across I decided to use them, just line up here so that we can walk on it without stepping in the dirt. So that's that. I can come here while I'm cooking, have a few things here, go straight back in and add it to my food. And while we are here, you can see that on this, by the side of the building, I have things growing here. Yes, that's weed, and I like to cut them and mulch the garden with it as well. But I have edible. I have a lamb squatter here. It goes in my food. I have dandelion. It goes in it as well. And then there is wild lettuce that is medicinal, and you can add it to lettuce that I have been seeing, and I like to let it go to seed so that it can spread out. So there will be another video on that. But yes, wild lettuce, I have two types. One in the front that is not prickly at the back. That one is medicinal, pain reliever. But this one that I come across here, I had it in a community garden that I had before that I gave back this year. But I have found that one there in biologist, and I did my research on it before I found it there. But yes, the one that has some soft prickle at the back of the leaves is the one you eat. Is the one that is you can use like salad. But the one that does not have it, I think it has, the one that I have at the front has kind of spine at the edges of the leaves. That one is the medicinal one. So there'll be another video probably on that one, but it's not why we are here to this morning. Let's start planting our onion. So you can plant it like this if you're out of space. That's totally fine. They will grow. I think I have one that touched the ground and it starts rooting as already. So if it touches the ground, it'll root. That's why they call it walking onion, because you can see them. They stand, the bubbles can get heavy, it will bend the stem, and when they touch the ground, they will root and they will start growing. So without doing anything, they can just grow in for you. But I'm trying to expand my supply so that I have enough for the whole year, because I don't buy onion anymore from the grocery store. I just use the leaves, or I can even use the bubbles. I eat them, but I like to replant them because they are kind of small, a lot of work to peel. But you can see those big ones, you can eat it easily, but those big ones, I like to return them to the ground. A lot of time sometimes it can take 2 years for them to start producing bubbles, but the big one can produce next year. So let's get going. And I'm just going to peel them. And you can see it, easy to peel off. So that means that's a lot of bubbles to plant. And what I do sometimes when I'm tired of planting is I just scatter it in the area. And when they touch the ground, they root. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stay a little bit away from the concrete. So let's see about a half foot space, and I'll just, I don't know if you'll be able to see me, but I'm just going to put the bottom in the ground and the tip will be up. The tip will be up. This side will be in the ground. That's where the root will come from. The tip will be up. I won't put everything, I won't cover everything with dirt. I'll just cover it halfway like this. And that's pretty much it. And I don't dig a big hole or anything. And I plant them close too. They do just fine. So anyway, when they touch the ground themselves. So, and as I'm digging, I can see that the ground is kind of hard. So that means I need to mulch it. It does not mean I need to water. It means I need to mulch it so that when it rains, it can get soft. So I'm going to make sure that this big one goes in the hole. So when I'm the garden like this, I like to pay attention to the garden to see what help I can bring. So right now the need is more mulching so that it can retain more moisture. I have a lot of mulch here, but they are not heavy enough. That's just green matter from the sides. So I have some cardboard seeds, some newspaper. I think I'll bring them here, and 4 leaves goes here as well. So it's very hard to dig. It shouldn't be that hard to dig the ground. So that's my cue that that's one area I should mulch more. And I'm not trying to be methodical in this. I'm just trying to drop it in the hole. Fish fall in it, top down. I can turn it. I don't even cover it at all so that it can grow. So even if you are making it lay down, it will grow. That's a very strong plant. A perennial onion. Doesn't get any better than that. Some part of the garden is on the soft. Some area are on the dry side. So it's not the whole garden. And let's continue. So pretty much that's what I'm going to do. And trying to put as many as possible here. And see what will happen. If you can grow your own vegetables, it's a good idea to grow it. Oh, you know what? Let me show you something here. I'm going to dig it out. That's a nice size. It's even damaged. Sorry, onion. I didn't damage inside of it. Damage the bulb. But that's a nice size onion right there. And nice size bubbles as well. And I don't like to eat the bottom, but it's hard. At this stage, you can harvest them and eat them as well if you want. And this one is not growing, it's not sprouting yet, but it's getting there because it has. I think it's about to start growing. And for something that has been in the garden for the whole spring, summer, you know, and they have been in the garden for years, so That's the same thing I did last year. I took the bulbs and replanted them here at the front, but some were in the garden before that. And that'll be a good onion. I don't know if I'm going to cook it. I don't know if I'm going to cook it or just replant it. But I think I'm just going to replant it. So I brought my scissors here. And when I'm planting those onions, and I'm not sure I'll be able to plant them all, I like to target the big bulbs, the big bubbles. Put them back in the ground. Put your best seeds in the ground. So if this is the way it is right now. So pretty much that's the way I've been cutting them in the garden. I'll cut this little bit feet. So that's that. And I'll replant it. If I'm digging those from an area that they are too crowded to replant, that's how I'll be cutting them and replant them. And this I'll take it off as well. And this garden waste, I will mulch the garden with it. So let's get planting then. It's quite hard here. Okay, it's soft. Now that I broke the ground, I'm just going to put it in it. And don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the tip just like the way I'm planting the smallest one, half is in the ground, half is on top. And I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm just going to take the big bulb, the big bubbles from here, and plant them as well. And if you are wondering, space that I'm leaving between them, not much space at all. 3 inches, maybe. That's just that. And I'm not even covering them really either. Well, it's pretty much what I'm going to be doing today to get as many back down in the ground. I don't know, this is that potato. Don't even know where it is now. Somewhere there. And this is a weed. And just cut it down. But I can use the space. I'll just take the big ones. And in fact, that I can leave it in my kitchen to cook with it raw after I'm done planting a bunch of them. But I have a lot in the garden to go through just to harvest those bubbles, mulch the ground with the stems, cut them, you know, few inches above the ground, so so that the bulbs at the bottom can pull the energy toward the new growth. So, and just make the bed loose a little bit cleaner. Get those bubbles off and see where in the garden I wanted to put them. So the more I plant, the more harvest I'll have next year, even in fall as well. This fall, I'm planting it now, but by October I should have nice size growth to start harvesting some from them. That's a possibility, but I have enough in the garden to harvest from anyway. It's not having enough to harvest, but be able to harvest on time, you know, because they are already tall enough for harvesting. And I'm not even ready. I'm not even done replanting the bubbles. So and that's a lot of bubbles here. Let's not even try to count them. And that's a nice size here too. You can eat it or you can plant it. And the ones that are here already, I'll be able to cut the top off. While we are talking about that, and just do that as well. And cut the top off and just mulch. You can see this one has 2 rows of bubbles, while this one has 1 but multiple on it. And I don't know if you noticed it, but it touched the ground, so it started rooting. And that one, for example, if I want, and I know that I have a lot to deal with, I can just put this in the ground somewhere. And this definitely I want to plant it because it's a big size. So I'm going to put a cluster in the ground. You know what I'm looking at? There is after the storm, I emptied my freezer and I dumped things here, and I dumped green beans in the garden. There is some green beans. They were not fully dry for me to to harvest it. So when I harvest them, they are not green either for me to eat a green bean. So I removed them from the shelf and I froze them. So when the storm came and things started in the freezer, I dumped them here. Guess what? They are growing. After being in the freezer for 2 years, they are growing. And let's see if I'll be able to show you that. And that's that. Do you see it? And in case you are wondering, they are here. That's the pin here. Telephone pole, something pole bean. Yeah, I think it's telephone or whatever it's called. Pole bean. So you can see them here. Oh, you can even see this one. Do you see it? Oh, it's not just that. So many. Do you see them here? Oh, look. Do you see them? Isn't that amazing? I plant green beans here and I harvest them, but at the end of the season, like they stay on the things for too long, but they were now dry for me to harvest my own seeds, but they're past green stage. So when I harvest it, I pull them out of the shell and I put them in freezer back and I froze them. 2017, 2018, 19, 20. And look at them here. Look at them all growing. Isn't that amazing? And do you know that you can eat beans leaves? Because end of August now, green beans, that's a pole bean. So I'm not sure that will be able to produce green beans, really. But that's kind of nitrogen fixer for the garden too. I just saw those little ones here and I thought, are they the green beans growing or what? But yes, do you see the beans at the bottom here? Do you see them? Isn't that amazing? And 2018 or 2017 that I harvested and put in my freezer. And they are growing here. After putting them here on the 20th, I believe, of August. Today is 29th of August. And I had this vegetation here. That's just amazing. Well, if I have assumed they were dry enough for me to let them continue drying in storage so that I can plant them, I think they might just have worked great too. I'm not sure, but I couldn't have eaten them like green bean with the pad. So I took them out of the pad and I said, you know what, that would be a quick beans to cook. Like it will cook faster because it's not fully dried. And I have like a few bags of that, but I have a lot of green beans in the freezer. In fact, they didn't even thaw. Some of them stay frozen, but it was just too many. And there is no way I'll do much with them after I open the freezer and we didn't have power after being without power for almost for 6 days that day, you know. So and I just emptied them in the garden. They came from the garden they will return. And I'm not even seeing things that I dump here. Some of them dry out. But yeah, I dump a lot of things at a lot of places because that's 2 full freezers that I emptied. And a lot of content were just vegetables. So they just went the garden all around. So I just walk around and put them, and I'm very surprised that I put it here because that's by planting now I'm able to see them here. So let's see, maybe if it grows well, I'll be able to harvest some leaves to put in my cooking They take a little bit longer to cook though, the beans leaves. So you might cook a little bit longer, like if you are cooking a sauce, yeah, it will be great to add it to it. And when I plant green beans, that's what I do. Not only I harvest the green beans, I harvest the leaves as well for cooking, because the leaves is edible. The leaves are edible. And then I'll let some beans dry so that I can harvest my own seeds for the following year. And I believe I have 1/4 jar of green beans in the house for planting. But this year I didn't plant any of those. I planted peas and I harvested a few of them. That's pretty much it. That's the only onions that I planted this year. I was a little bit busy with one of my businesses and one of our businesses, and I didn't really do much in the garden. I'm very surprised that I did what I did in the garden. I didn't expect doing that much in the garden either. But that's one reason that I like perennial vegetables. You know, you don't tend to them, they will be just fine. The only problem you'll have is harvesting them. You know, the produce, you have to harvest them. So for what I have to harvest them in spring and I have to harvest them in fall. So that's just pretty much what I will be doing here. And you can see them growing already. You can eat them raw. You know, and you can see this one here. Once they touch the ground, they are good. And you can see how I planted them. Can you see that? Can you see it here? You can see the tip showing up. So I don't plant my things too deep. And surely this area is soft. That's good. So I just need to keep it moist. So you can see that onion here. I don't plant my things too deep, because when they fall on the ground, they touch the ground, they start rooting. They don't go deep either. So why would I plant them deep? So that's that. And when I'm tired of planting, what I do is just that. I just make sure they go between the cracks of the mulch, you know, that. And where we put this? Probably here. And once they touch the ground, they root. So that's what I'll be doing with the smallest ones. Once I'm tired of planting, scattering them there. They are very small for eating it anyway. And one thing that is good to do with those type of onion, if you have the time, is make cough syrup with them. So that'll be removing the skin, chopping them up very well. What I like to do is pound them, and I like to use in fact I will be doing that too, and I might record it when I'm doing it. I'll chop the leaves, I'll add it to my mortar, and with pestle I'll pound it well, and then I'll return it to a jar. I'm just spreading it like that, and I'll add raw honey to it to cover to the top, stir it well, and put it in my fridge, and it'll stay there for weeks. And then I will strain it and get all those onions out, and return it to the jar and put it in the fridge. And it stayed in the fridge. And I have one after the storm, when we got the electricity, but I cleaned the fridge, I tossed it. But guess what? It was in good shape. But I just didn't want to waste it, because honey is a preservative anyway. But that's that. And I like to have those natural medicine on hand for the kids. When they have cold, runny nose, they will ask me if I can give them the medicine in the fridge. Frankly, I don't like the taste of it, but the kids likes it. But it's onion and honey. You can do that with garlic as well. And that's good to have those natural medicine on hand when you are going toward winter. So thank you so much for watching. If you are looking for natural products, we have our website ninassoap.com, where we sell towels made out of natural fabric like cotton, bamboo, and we have napkins. And those towels and napkins, you have a stash of it in the bathroom. Everybody grab one to wipe your hand when they wash your hand, and you just don't share germs when you do that. So, and then you don't use toilet paper. You just have those towels. You wash them in hot water, and you have a fresh stash to work with again. So we have them on our website. We have our light soap, our handmade soap, and we have our custom design apparel and stationery. That's on, and the website is label.com, where you can find our custom design product as well. Thank you so much for watching. You can have your own garden if you have a small space to work with. You just have to be selective while you are growing, and if you don't even have time, you can still grow your own vegetables, you know. And you come out while you are cooking and you have fresh organic vegetables to put in your food, in your cooking. Even if the whole food is not made out of 100% organic ingredient, I mean, putting some organic vegetables in it is something, right? Or when you are eating your salad, you come out, you have fresh onion, you can add it to it. You have herbs, you can add it to it. And I have sorrel here that I made my salad with, so it can go in it. And that's just all that on a small 2x8, 3x8, 3 feet by 8 feet, and that's sorrel here. And I try to mix it to propagate it, and I have a few places here in the garden. I have it here too, in a bunch of beans. And I don't waste my time weeding. I like to say that I'm mulching, because that's pretty much what I do with the weeds. When I cut it, I just drop it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for commenting on our website, on our YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you. Stay safe.